In today's video, you are going to review the animal and plant cell organelles and functions to prepare for the quiz tomorrow. So, first we're going to go over the shared organelles, the organelles that both animals and plants have. So the first one is the nucleus, and the nucleus is the control center of the cell. This is the organelle that directs all cell activities. This organelle is in charge of what goes on every day in the cell. The cell membrane is a thin membrane on the outside of the cell that lets things in and out of the cell. It's this membrane right here. So it allows things like food and oxygen and water to come in and also waste to leave the cell. Cytoplasm is that gelatin-like material inside the cell that really holds all of the organelles together. And this is where most cell activities occur, all around the cytoplasm. So all this space that's kind of filled that holds organelles, that's the cytoplasm. The mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell, and it's called that because it's what takes the food that you eat and turns it into usable energy for the cell. So this is how you can walk and talk and do all the things that require energy because of the mitochondrion. This is also where cellular respiration occurs, which is a cell process that we will discuss in a later unit. Ribosomes are organelles that simply make proteins for the cell that they can use for a variety of activities. The endoplasmic reticulum, hard to say, is simply folded membranes where materials can be processed and moved around inside the cell. So you can kind of see how materials can move around with these folded membranes. So there's something called smooth ER, and that is the endoplasmic reticulum that does not have ribosomes on it, and it processes other materials like lipids, which are fats, and they also store energy. But rough endoplasmic reticulum does have ribosomes, and that's where the ribosomes make proteins in the ER. So after the proteins are made, after the ribosomes make those proteins, they are transferred to the organelle Golgi bodies. And these are also stacked flattened membranes, but don't get them confused with ER because they have a different function. They sort through the proteins that were just made and they package them up in membrane-bound structures called vesicles. And the vesicles deliver the cellular substances, the proteins, to areas inside the cell. So here is the Golgi body. It's also sometimes called the Golgi apparatus. Vacuoles are simply storage for the cell. They store food, water, and other cellular substances. Lysosomes is the last shared organelle that we'll talk about, and lysosomes have these really cool digestive chemicals that break down food molecules, cell wastes, and worn out cell parts for the cell. Okay, so there's two plant-only organelles. There are chloroplasts and there is the cell wall. Chloroplasts is where food is made in the plant cell. Remember, plants can make their own food. Animals cannot make their own food, so animals do not have chloroplasts. Chloroplasts have this pigment called chlorophyll, and that's what makes them green. And this is what captures that light energy from the sun and makes food for the plant. And that is also known as the process of photosynthesis. The other plant-only organelle is the cell wall, and that's what makes that tough, rigid outer covering for the plant. And it protects the plant, and it really gives it the structure that it has. And when you feel a plant, whereas if you were to feel skin of an animal, it feels very different because of that cell wall. Alright, the next thing that I want you to do is pause the video, and I want you to label each of these parts of the cell, of the animal cell. Okay, now pause the video again and label the parts of the plant cell. Alright, so now that you've labeled the animal cell, go ahead and check your answers, and with a different color on your screen or with a different color pen, go ahead and correct your answers so I know which ones you got right and which ones you got wrong. This is not going to count off for you, I just need to know which ones you got right and wrong, so I know what we need to work on. And go ahead and do the same thing with the plant cell answers. Alright, so you have totally reviewed all the organelles and all of the labeling that will be on your quiz tomorrow. If you are still having trouble with any of this, go back and review so that you will do well tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.